Hello, I welcome you again to another teaching with the Venerable Nwanepe, Dave. Today I want to talk about the Bishop's Crozier. What is the Bishop's Crozier and why do bishops hold crozier? Why it is important that an episcopate would go with a crozier during procession. So in the Anglican Church, the Roman Catholic Church, Methodist Church, and all the churches that started before Reformation and after Reformation, the office of a bishop is a sacred office. It's also an apostolic office, and the bishop is the symbol of authority in his diocese, and he is the chief shepherd of his diocese. So the crozier is also known as the paterissa, or the pastoral staff, or bishop's staff. It's a symbol of his authority. It's symbolized staff, that symbol of his authority. It's a symbolized staff that is a symbol of the governing office of a bishop. The bishop carries this staff because at his consecration, he was given a staff to be the chief shepherd of his diocese. Now, why do they carry this staff? What is the symbol of the staff? If you remember in the Old Testament, you will discover that Moses had a staff. And in the Anglican Church, it is believed that bishops are chief shepherd, and the shepherd usually have a staff. There's a stick. Cattle rearers and shepherds always go with. And the hook, there's a hook in the pastoral staff or the crozier that faces the people all the time. That hook is for the bishop to use it to draw the people back when they are going astray. When the people are missing the road, the bishop is supposed to correct with that staff. He's supposed to guide the sheep with that staff as the chief shepherd of his diocese. So in the Western Church, the usual form has been a shepherd clock. And this clock is curved towards the people to enable the shepherd use the hook to draw the missing or the missing flock back to himself. So, but the use of the staff in the Anglican Church symbolizes the authority of the bishop. Now, at his consecration, he's given a staff, but the use of that staff is only within his jurisdiction, within his see. The bishop uses the local ordinary uses the staff within his see. Now, why am I using the local ordinary? If the local ordinary has a suffragan bishop, or an assistant bishop, or auxiliary bishop, or coadjutor, they don't use the staff when the ordinary is present. The ordinary is the diocesan. He is the only one that carries the staff within his diocese. Now, if he is not present or will not be in that service, and he sends his coadjutor, his assistant, his auxiliary bishop, or whatever title, depending on province. When the auxiliary bishop gets to the function, he uses the crozier, but he faces the hook back. Now, when the person carrying the crozier is not the ordinary of the diocese, he faces the crozier back. And in the Anglican Church, they usually use the chaplain. The chaplain is the third hand of the bishop. There are school of thoughts that says, as the third hand of the bishop, that he carries the staff with his two hands, still facing it towards the people. While others have argued, there are other school of thoughts that have argued that because he is not the bishop, he faces it back. So I do not want to go into the argument of facing it front or facing it back, but just for our knowledge, we should know that the chaplain is the third hand of the bishop. Now, having said that, if a bishop goes outside his jurisdiction, he does not go with the staff. The staff does not leave his jurisdiction. It's a jurisdictional staff. It does not leave the jurisdiction of the bishop. The bishop only uses the staff within the jurisdiction of his office. Now, if the bishop has a visiting bishop and he is in the service, but not officiating, if the local ordinary authorizes the visiting bishop, he may use the staff only at the authorization of the ordinary. So the ordinary is the only person that authorizes the visiting bishop or a coadjutor or a suffragan bishop to use the staff when he is present or absent. Therefore, that thing is the symbol of authority. That stick is a symbol of authority. The staff is the symbol of the bishop's office. Now, bishops are given staff at their consecration. Now, there are also another staff that is called the diocesan staff. At the retirement of the bishop, he returns the diocesan staff back to the dean. The dean is the custodian of the diocese tradition. So he returns the diocesan staff, and the dean keeps the diocesan staff until a new bishop is elected, consecrated, and enthroned. And the dean enthrones the bishop and hands over the staff to him. Now, but the one that the bishop is consecrated with, he will retire with that staff. But after retirement, he will no longer have access, he will no longer be permitted to use the staff of his consecration. He retires and keeps his staff until the day he passes on, and the staff is kept in his memory. But the staff generally is the symbol of the authority of the bishop. Now, having said this, I also want to bring to our notice that if a bishop goes out of his territory and he's going to minister in another person's diocese, maybe these modern days when we now design flyers, we put the pictures of where they don't have the crozier, because it symbolizes that they have crossed jurisdiction where they don't have the authority to govern. So it's only the diocesan bishop that appears in a poster with the crozier in his hands, showing that he is the bishop of that particular locality. So it's only the ordinary that appears in posters or church service programs holding the crozier. Now, how do we use the crozier when the primate is in a service? The primate, mind you, holds two offices or three offices. He holds the office of the province, which is the Archbishop of the province, the little p. He holds the office of the primate of the Church of Nigeria. He also holds the office of the Bishop of Abuja. Now, when he is functioning in the Diocese of Abuja, he uses his crozier, the diocesan crozier. When he is functioning as the provincial Archbishop, he also uses his crozier. But when he is functioning as the primate of Church of Nigeria, he does not use the crozier. He uses the primatial cross. Now, the primatial cross is different from the crozier, because the primatial cross is the cross that helps him to govern the entire province. So that staff is more powerful. So in a Church of Nigeria or a provincial service, the primate would come to the service with his crozier, while the diocesan bishop also comes to the service with his crozier. Unless the service is being held in Abuja, then he may decide to just come only with his with the primatial cross when it's a national church. Now, in a national service, let's say Diocese of Otukpo is hosting a general synod, the diocesan bishop will come with his staff, while he may release his personal staff to the chaplain to lead the rest of the bishop, while he holds his pastoral staff himself when walking in. Or he may use the diocesan staff to lead the bishops while processing with his personal staff. Yet the primate will also be coming behind with the primatial cross. That is the only time more than one crozier is allowed in the service. Now, when I functioned last 3 weeks in the diocese on the Niger, as the retreatant for the newly preferred archdeacons, people were asking me in my inbox, why did the diocese allow the staff to lead me to the pulpit? Now, that's because if you are a preacher in a diocesan service, you are the guest of the bishop and representing the bishop. Whatever you are doing with the mandate of the bishop. So, and that's why you notice the preacher in the diocesan services, the preacher in a national church, is joined in what we call the episcopal procession. Even if he is not a bishop, he goes with the episcopal procession. That means he is within he is standing in the place of the bishop. So that day, I was standing in the place of the diocesan bishop, who gave me the privilege to be the retreatant. For chaplains that handle the crozier, they use 2 hands. A chaplain cannot hold the crozier with 1 hand, and the chaplain does not stamp the crozier on the floor while holding it, because it is not his own. He is just the 3rd hand of the bishop. Thank you for listening. We'll come more with this teaching. If you have questions or comments, comment under the comment section. Tell us what you have learned or what you think, or you can inbox us. Thank you, and God bless you.